Welcome folks, I am Jaby, Koay, joined by ACHARA, KIRK.
Hi there.
So thanks to ScreenX, we got to watch The Nun in the ScreenX viewing room down at the Edwards Cinema in Irvine, California. If you don't know what ScreenX is, basically it's a 270-degree viewing room where you've got the screen in front and you've got the supporting peripheral angles.
Yeah, so it's panoramic.
Yeah, it's a panoramic view. And it's a very interesting way to watch a movie. My first experience with it, yours as well.
Yeah, like you really feel much more immersed in the movie because you've got like the edges as well, so you get your peripheral vision going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experience because for me, I actually experienced that with video games, PC gaming, where you're playing with 3 monitors and you've got the stretched monitors over here, but if you're supposed to just focus in front and it feels like you're actually like in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so likewise, there are moments where you feel like you're actually in the movie. It's not there like 100% of the time, it's there for select moments, but when it happens, it's really cool. I would recommend trying it out at least once. ScreenX is a very interesting way to watch a movie, and it definitely makes you feel like you're immersed in the experience of it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about The Nun. Just to let you guys know, up front, we have not seen any other films in the Conjuring universe.
But I want to now.
Yeah, so I thought that it'd be interesting anyway for us to go into this to see if like we can appreciate it. So if you're someone who hasn't watched any of the other films in the Conjuring universe, I think that you still would appreciate this film if you're into horror and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's not a super graphic movie, even though it's rated R. I was actually surprised that it was rated R.
It's rated R?
Yeah, I thought it was
What?
PG-13 based on the level of violence, but it still has really tense moments. There are some violent moments in the movie. I think they did a pretty good job with a number of the scares in the film. If you're into horror, do check it out.
And especially if you're into The Conjuring, I think this would probably be much more interesting to you because, you know, you've followed it along thus far, so it makes sense to kind of watch the prequel. I'm genuinely surprised that you just said it was an R rating because I am the biggest wuss when it comes to horror, and for me, it was scary, like you said, it was tense, but I wasn't like completely horrified. So I think if you are the type of person that is really, really into horror and you like your horror really graphic, this doesn't really offer that for you.
Yeah, it doesn't suit your taste.
Your taste, yeah.
But I felt that it was still worthwhile because there were a number of scares that it was more like getting under your skin. It was more like psychological, like putting you in these unsettling scenarios.
Yeah.
I don't want to say exactly what because I don't want to ruin the film.
And jump scares.
Jump scares, yeah. I thought they did a decent job with that, but I'm also not a horror aficionado. I haven't seen that many horror films. Hopefully that helps some of you out. So let's just jump into the specifics of the film now. This comes from IMDb. A priest with a haunted past and a novice on the threshold of her final vows are sent by the Vatican to investigate the death of a young nun in Romania and confront a malevolent force in the form of a demonic nun. This is written by Gary Doberman and the story is by James Wan, and it's directed by Corrin Hardy. The first thing I want to talk about is something I really appreciated, which is the cinematography. I thought the director of photography and the director worked really well together to provide some really beautiful imagery here. I mean, beautiful is an interesting word to use in this kind of a movie, but like the shadows, the framing, the camera movement, I thought all of it was really well executed. If you're a cinephile, I think that it's a reason to watch the film because it's just great use of shadows, and every frame I was watching, I'm like, wow, this is like really well lit. This is really well put together. From a horror perspective, I thought like, that's how you should do one of these movies, you know? The music was interesting. You said you liked the music. I'm not sure how I felt about it. I didn't really notice it too much until we got to the credits.
I think the reason why I liked it was because, you know, the nun had a theme. So when you heard that like eerie chanting and stuff, you knew something was gonna happen. So for someone who's extremely anxious like myself, that helped because I was like, oh, she's coming, let me just prepare myself, you know. But I can also see how that might be a negative because it kind of gives it away, right? But it was really good music.
There was some comedy in the film that was unexpected, and the audience collectively was laughing together at a number of scenes, but not in a bad way. It was deliberately funny.
Yeah.
And I thought that was nice that they included some levity in the film. It's cool that it's like, you know, trying to maintain a balance of scaring you and making you laugh instead of just straight darkness, straight, depressing or whatever. The film is fun, to say the least. It's a good film to see with an audience. Now, That being said, let's talk about some of the negatives, and some of the negatives I feel are very strong negatives. The first thing I want to mention is the lead actor, Demian Bashir, who plays Father Burke. I couldn't understand a lot of what he was saying because of his accent. It was muddying up the dialogue. It's an issue that was exclusive to him because there's another actor, Jonas Bloquet, who's the French actor. His name is Frenchie in the film. And I could understand everything he said.
Yeah.
Just fine. And so Demian Bashir's accent, like in particular, just like I lost a lot of the important information. Because of that, it made me believe that his acting wasn't great, but I'm sure the acting was fine given the material. Like, the script dialogue is not the best. It's very hokey half the time. That may have contributed to his performance not being its best. With that said, Thaisa Farmiga, I don't know if that's how you say her name.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Thaisa or Tessa or...
Yeah, and Jonas Bloquet. Yeah, I'm just making that up. I think it's a French name, so...
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody else in the film, given the material, I thought everybody else did a great job with what they could do. The acting, besides Demian Bashir, was fine.
I really like Tessa Farmiga as Sister Irene, and I like her from American Horror Story already. So she has that really nice, sweet, innocent quality, but with like a strength underneath her as well, which I really appreciated.
Right.
And yeah, Jonas Bloquet, cute and funny.
Let's talk about like the main reason you go to watch these movies, which is like the scary aspect of it. You felt like a good deal of scared throughout the film, yeah?
I was scared, but I recognize that I'm not the best barometer for that because I get scared very easily, but it was still a much more manageable scare for me.
In general, horror movies don't really do a whole lot to me. I end up just kind of analyzing it when it happens. Whenever like I'm studying how the film is trying to scare me, and I can't help it. It's like I'm watching, I'm like, okay, that was scary. That wasn't so scary. And I'm just like studying it the whole time. And so from that perspective, I'm like, I thought it had some good scares in there. I thought that like just, it's harder to scare audiences today than it ever has been before. In general, like they did a pretty good job with having these creepy characters. On IMDb, the film's got a 6.9 out of 10. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess, like, for me personally, I would have given it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Or I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. And that's primarily due to two things. Number one, I did not like the main actor, or at least the accent just bugged me. I couldn't hear half of what he was saying because of his accent, and that may have just like put a huge damper on what would otherwise be a good opinion of him and his performance. And the dialogue, like a lot of the dialogue was just very hokey to me. The nun looked really creepy, I gotta say that.
Yeah, she was pretty creepy. I think that as a standalone movie for people who have not watched anything in the Conjuring universe, it still works on its own, so I really appreciate that. And it's definitely given me appreciation for it and curiosity about the rest of the films in this universe.
Just to make sure I put this out there, I have no issue with actors having accents in movies. I just want to make sure that it's audible enough or clear enough that anyone can understand it.
Yeah, I did feel at times like I wish that they had subtitled him, even though he's speaking English.
This is coming from someone who has an Italian family and an Asian family and people with like all kinds of weird ways of speaking in between. So it's not like I'm inept when it comes to hearing someone with an accent. Like, it was just muddied. He needs to enunciate better. Demian Bashir, if you're watching, I apologize, but you need to enunciate better.
Yes.
And the director should have told him that. Corrin Hardy, shame on you. You should have told him to enunciate better. Anyway, this is just one man's opinion.
Yes.
So, well, one man and one woman.
And one lady.
It's confusing which one it is sometimes. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be honest, be verbose. Check out ACHARA KIRK. She's on the social media. She likes it when you follow her. It helps inflate her ego, which is not big at all. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.